Okay, you mentioned about the first question, two questions. One about who created the planets or the planets, the
Yeah.
galaxy constellation who created it. One. Then two, about the sun, because we have different suns in different constellations. So what happens when all the suns run out of energy? Or is it that
it doesn't happen?
It is that if one runs out of energy to now create another.
Yeah, that's what. If you study suns, this is why it's important for us to study. If you study suns, suns are birth, just like children are birth, and they grow and go through stages. So you go from like a white dwarf, supernova, nova, giant. They're different. Go and study stars. It's actually really interesting. So that's what happens. They expand and then they contract. When they explode, and this is what happened with our planet and our solar system came out of an explosion of another sun. You get it? So that sun exploded, it was known as Sao, and formed, because when it explodes, I like to use this example all the time to make it simple. Like if you have a balloon, yeah, a balloon is before you blow into it, it's like the beginning of, let's say, the universe, yeah. And as you're blowing into it, it starts to expand, right? And the balloon is held together by atoms. You might not see it because the rubber is so tightly knit together. But when you're blowing into it, it starts to grow and grow and grow and grow. And the air is going to get to a point where those atoms, the friction in the rubber, because you're now stretching it so hard, it's going to explode, right? When it explodes, normally you see that the pieces of the balloon will fly off and they will stop at a distance, yeah? So this is what happened with our solar system, where the sun exploded and these bodies that flew off got held in the magnetic pull of the central mass or the sun and remained there, and it was like cooling off. So the planet Earth was hot, and it was like originally with like and there was other explosions that took place as well. Like 2,250,000 years ago, a meteorite hit the planet, and that caused like the dust to cover the planet, and there was no sunlight coming through. This is where Genesis is picking up, because it's saying, like when it's talking about there was no sun and all that, and then, but the stars, as in the moon, the other bodies had already been in existence for millions of years. But when that explosion took place, the dust covered the planet and sun wasn't getting through. So then these Anunnaki, right, they came in crafts and they were hovering above the planet. And they were like, they need to clear the dust cloud so that the sun rays can come through. This is where you're hearing, let there be light and all of that stuff in the Bible. This is when these like Anunnaki, they were terraforming the planet. So they basically cleared the dust cloud, the sun rays came through, and then life started to be refilled, or like they say, like people think Genesis is the beginning. It's not. That's why they get confused, because they think that experiment with what they're calling creating beings, they called it creating one man and one woman, but it wasn't that, because there were other planets, other constellations, other things in existence before this planet. So yeah, so our ancestors, they're responsible for that. If you read the part of Rat Paul, I was there, which is here, right? That explains this. And beings like the master teacher, some of these beings, they were watching this happening and they wrote it down. So when you go to Revelation, for example, 3:14, it's telling you that Atum watched the creation of God. You see, so what people are like in the religious mindset, the stories are like nursery. You're giving the children basic information. That's what the Bible, they say. It's an acronym for basic information before leaving Earth. So when you're teaching a child in kindergarten or nursery, you're not going to teach them using big scientific terms. You're going to make it so that it's palatable. That's what the Bible is for most people, because it's very basic. It doesn't go into what happened before. Because when you get to, oh, there was just Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, Cain kills Abel, and he goes somewhere where people are going to kill him. First thing in your mind is going to be, who are these people? Where did they come from? You see, so there were people here before that. So what was the second part of your question? Because our ancestors, that's why I told you, read I was there, which is here, which is a part of that. They like, the movie like Guardians of the Galaxy, they literally created the moons, the stars, and all. They're responsible for this. So when we say these beings are that intelligent, 100,000 years, light years ahead of us. They are able to create what people call moons. I think it's China or Japan was doing it the other day where they were creating a sun. And these are things that as you learn and grow, because all you're thinking, okay, it's a ball of gas that has hydrogen and helium, and it's just burning and converting. And if you can create that, you've created the sun. So yeah, our ancestors did. And when we tell people this, they're like, and we were saying they built crafts that are bigger than the planet. Like Nibiru is big, it's a craft. Can you imagine a craft that's bigger than this planet? That you're actually driving, it's too much for us to like really wrap our minds around. But yeah, they deal with galaxies and universes. And you, if you elevate yourself to a point where you could be a part of Babylon sent to another planet to go and do what he's doing here. Because you're dealing with universes, not one universe. Galaxies. We're in the 18th galaxy. He's from the 19th galaxy, which is next door to the 18th galaxy. And there are other galaxies. And there were problems and things going on in these galaxies, wars and all kinds of stuff. So, you know, you have to raise yourself to realize that our story, I mean, even if you just read the holy tablets that the master put out and it has expired, as in he had to move up a level to go back to Wu-Sabat, that tablet, it's got so much information. It talks about all types of beginnings and beings that most people have no knowledge about. And it starts off telling you it's going to take you trillions of years before your time. Because remember, your time is based on the planet and the motion around the sun. Yeah, the Earth rotates one time around, which takes roughly 365 days, and you say that's 1 year. It does that, you say 2 years, 3 years, and then you say I'm 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old. But what if you didn't use that as time? How old would you be? Have I lost anyone? Do you follow what I'm saying? Like your birthdays are based on the planet rotating around the sun. And every one cycle you say, oh, I'm now 10, I'm 12. But you're using that rotation to govern your age. And the further away the planet is from the sun, the wider the rotation, the longer it's going to take. So 1 day to you, to someone else on another planet, is 1,000 years, because it can take 1,000 years for it to rotate around. That's why it says in 2 Peter, 1 day to the Lord is like 1,000 years, because they're further away from us. Go ahead.
How do you count your moons? Moons as in moon?
Yeah, but that's what we're saying. That's Greeks and Roman and Gregorian calendars. That's not our time. We don't even know our time. As in, when I say we, not Nuapians, because we know. Right? If I ask you what year are you in now, what would you say? Right, because they told you that. Right. But what if you don't go by the Gregorian calendar? Many people don't. The Mayans didn't. The Ethiopians don't. Chinese don't. They don't celebrate New Year at the same time. And we have too. We are now in 6024, our time. As Sabaeans, that's why I'm saying this we. You got to become a Sabaean to be included in the we. Because when people are saying we, there's a we that are Sabians or Nuapians, and there's a we that people are calling black people. Two separate things. And you have to start to learn about who and what you are and your culture and your language, and so you can be the best that you can be. And be proud of who you are. Don't always have to try and borrow and take other people's stuff. They don't respect you when you do that anyway. You see, so everyone's gone quiet.
But I have a question.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. No, there was another brother before you, Eliza. Sorry, and then Colby will come to you. Go
No
ahead.
problem.
Elsie, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, you know, in Wu-Sabat, yeah,
Torah.
how do you view entertainment?
How do you do entertainment?
In Wu-Sabat,
Yeah. I just want to hear I heard entertainment, but I didn't hear the bit in between.
okay, would you say in Wu-Sabat, yeah, entertainment is a spell?
It depends on the entertainment.
Oh,
There's
Because
different types of entertainment.
mm,
We're creative people. We do everything in entertainment. What we don't do is sell our souls to that industry, the music industry, the film industry, and all of that, to do devilishness and all that stuff. And the master teacher explained that we don't compete. We do things for, for fun, not to recreation, because that's what they do. They call it recreation. We have wholesome fun. And there's
constructive.
dealing with vibration and frequencies, we have our own tones, FAC. So you have to listen to things that are conducive and good for your being, not things that are going to destroy you. So, yeah, we deal with entertainment, but it's the right type of entertainment.
Okay, Tawuta.
And Taka Fiaraku. Right, who was next? Kobe. You can
Okay. So I've been reading Hakak at Feeding the Forces.
Sure.
And there's two verses which I like to go over because I've been reading it and I'm just trying to process it in my mind, but I may need a little bit of help to understand it or understand it a bit further. So is it okay if I just read those two verses?
Sure. That's what classes are for. And I just want to, before you do, this is what people that come to class, you're supposed to be reading the scrolls and then come into class to clarify things that don't make sense or that you need understanding over. Everyone's got used to just lecturing or just giving out information and not reading and watching videos, which is good. But yeah, you're doing the right things, Amal. I just wanted to give you a bit of props for that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So verse 139 and verse 140 are the two I'll read. So it says, because the morphogenic field also links to a chosen living bloodline member, since all consciousness of a race activity and ethereal battery function is rotated counterclockwise for Negroids and clockwise for Tainum Kai met at the point in time. 140, then stored at 180 degrees from an individual's ordinary consciousness. I just want to understand, and then it's got the diagram as well, where it shows a black circle moving clockwise on one side and then counterclockwise on the other side. In the middle, it has two clear ones, and it says equals 180 degrees. I'd just like to understand this further and try and understand the point that the master teacher is trying to get across.
Okay, so the point he's trying to get across is that when they tell you in the Bible that the devil will make evil fair seeming, it literally means that everything you do, they turn the opposite way around. Yeah, because they know that you're more powerful going in one direction. So what they do is make you go in a different direction. And so when you look at the number 9 as the highest being 9 ether, you will see that the counter to that would be 6. So if you were to draw a 9 and then draw 6, you see that one is going in one direction and the other is going in the other direction. And this is what they've done because everything is turned back to front without you knowing it. So for example, when you write, how do you write? Left to right or right to left?
Left to right.
Right, that's backwards. That's not how we used to write, yeah? When you look at the word God, if you read it backwards, what would you say? Dog, right? It sounds funny. Like, this is what they do. It sounds really silly and funny. But then, dog is man's best friend. Why is that? Do we naturally like to kiss dogs and lick dogs in their mouth? Why not? Right. That's what I'm saying. So when you start to going back to your question, when you look at the clock, they tell you the clock is going this way. Yeah. And that's time. So that's wrong. It's going counterclockwise. So that's what he's explaining, that we are at a point where you got evolution and you got revolution. Yeah. And again, it's like a backward thing. So what he's saying is that we've reached a time where you don't realize it, but natural time, or the way that the motion of the planetary bodies work, yeah, they've started to go in the way they're supposed to go. This is why, like I was saying about the reading, it's like your brain, you have left hemisphere and right hemisphere, and they know that if they get you to use the wrong side of your brain, then it's going to go against what you're supposed to do. So they have us competing and fighting against each other, because they make men feel like they only have to deal with their masculine side, and they make females think they only have to deal with their feminine side. But you've got both between you. A man is both male and female, X and Y chromosome, and the female is also both. So he's explaining that when you look at the time period we're in now, when you look at the cycle of life, it was like you had 6,000 years of a moon cycle, 6,000 years of a sun cycle, 6,000 years of a moon cycle, and another 6,000 years, and then it gives you 24,000 years in terms of the cycle. And that clock that we're talking about, 24 hours, is based on the circumference of the planet, which is 24,000 miles. This whole planet by extraterrestrial is referred to as Project 24. Your genomes you have 24,000 genes in your genome. So that 24,000 is the cycle that when you get to the beginning, like in the Bible, they tell you that God created things, and then in the sixth day, he completed his creation, right? You don't have to stay with me. You know? I know I really challenge you, right? So what it is now, we're in what they would call the seventh day, because we're starting that new cycle again. So every day in the Bible, where they're saying day 1, day 2, day 3, but each day is a cycle. So it's actually 7,000, not when they say one day, 7,000. So 7 times 7 is 49,000, yeah, which is 2 cycles, because 24 plus 24 gives you 48, but they just round it up and call it an epoch. And they say an equinox is 24,000 years. So what it is now we're at a time where things have turned around and are going back in our favor. So where you were going in that direction as a 6, we're now going back in the direction of the 9, where it's 9 ether, 9 mind, 9 knowledge. Wu-Sabat is here to raise your mind back to that 9 ether.